Welcome to this little video, and if you've never been to Heasandford, well, you won't have a clue what this video is all about. But here we are looking at the River Brun where it meets the River Don. Now where we're panning left going upstream, that's River Don, and the bridge there is called Netherwood Bridge, and it's on Netherwood Road. Now the River Brun and the River Don meet at that configuration there and flow all the way down to Burnley, passing through Bank Hall into Thompson's Park where it fills the lake, out of the lake and then through culverts underneath Burnley and out the other end. And that banking, you can see how it's eroded over the years, and where that break is in the soil used to be level with the land opposite, which is now all gone. It's been eroded. Now I'm going back 72 years, because it was 72 years ago since I last visited this place, and what a change. 72 years have seen all that disappear, and it used to be level from the roadway right across to the banking where the erosion took place. Oh, and incidentally, that tarmac road just wasn't there in those days. But imagine where the two rivers are, that used to be land, and people used to come there and picnic, and they used to set up little tents and stay overnight because there was a farm just up the road at Netherwood Farm. Now Burnley's developing a forest, and that was part of it. And here's another farm, but a farm that I remember very well from the early 50s, and this belonged to the Townsends, and I mated out with their son Bob Townsend. We've had many good times on there haymaking. Now we're just down the road a little bit to Heasandford Lake, and there's a car park here, so if you do ever visit it, there's somewhere nice to park. And this is the beautiful lake. Now imagine that lake without any trees, or just one or two sparse trees, and they used to drain that every year because it was a feeder to a mill years and years and years ago. And at the far end of the lake there used to be a sunken barge, so there was a waterway as well, but now it's just a fishing lodge, and it's lovely to visit. Now we're down right at the bottom of Heasandford there, and this is where the road bridge is on Belvedere Road, Queen Victoria Avenue, that leads up to Eastern Avenue. And what I'm trying to show here is the amount of trees that were never there 72 years ago, and the banking opposite was absolute shale that was from the local pit at Bank Hall. And of course at the top end of that banking there used to be open cast coal mining, so it was a very industrial area. And underneath that bridge there used to be a wire pulley system that had buckets on it that had clay that went up to the Burnley brickworks, and on that brick outcrop there used to be the turning wheel. The cable used to come down, and that's the river that goes through to Burnley and Thompson's Park, and it used to turn the cable with all the buckets on and take it up to the brickworks, which is where the Premier Inn is now. And that's the banking. And imagine that river was only about 3 foot wide 72 years ago. The banking, there was no trees there, it was just shale. And women and kids and young men used to be on there picking the shale for bits of coal, and they had sacks and baskets, and they were there every day, as I remember. And now we've come back to Netherwood Bridge, because I was convinced that where the new bridge was, it went further back, which gave us more land at the front. And that, would you believe, is the remains of an old crossing, a Ford crossing. Now there's the bridge lower down. But surprisingly, at this location here that I remember, where you came round and went across the river and up to the farm, all the remnants are still there. All the masonry and the bottom of the ford, big slabs like that. And the little brick enclosure there, I think, was the water feed for the water mill lower down. And huge chunks of masonry have just been left there, 72 years. And I remember it where we used to walk round there, because, as I said earlier on, that all that was land, and the river somehow has gone lower down, because modern photographs that I've got compared with the old photographs shows one heck of a drop down where the river is eroded. And there we are. It's nice to see that the kids are still damming that, I suppose, of a weekend, and when it's nice, it's a wonderful playground still, because that's how it used to be when I was a kid. I'd be about 9 or 10 when I was last at this place, and it's been great to visit it back. Now, if you look in the foreground there's some of the huge big stones that used to be at the ford and the little footbridge. Now we're on Belvedere Road, at the top end of Belvedere Road, and this is Heasandford Bridge, rebuilt in 1929, or jigged in 1929. Those trees weren't there. The river was only about 3 foot wide, and it was just slag heaps left and right, although on the left there used to be a lot of allotments, and the allotments literally went right up to the water. So if you come down there, that passes what used to be Kippax, the car dealer, and this way coming in is the way into Turf Moor, past Queen's Park. And there we are, Heasandford Bridge. And there's little steps at the side here that you can go down to the riverside, and briefly you can just see what remains now of the allotments. So there's quite a lot there, still a lot there. Like in my days, all the old guys used to have chickens for eggs, and when they finished laying they could always eat them. And most of the allotments used to have hens. But it's nice to see that old tradition still applies, even though you can go to a supermarket and get what you want now. And this is an old photograph of how it used to be. From the bottom left you can see the bridge, and there's the slag heaps that used to be, and Bankhall Pit in the distance to the left, and the road goes up to the right, and the entrance is still the same. Now, coming back from the bridge and back into Heasandford, I noticed on the return visit that there are still the remains of where the stanchions used to be to take the cables for the bucket run on the cable for the clay from the up to the brickworks. And it's all along the banking up to a certain point, and then the stones go up in a line towards the crest to the top. And of course that was the line that they came down, because beyond this point to the left the stones finish. There aren't any, and as you can see they've all been properly quarried and masonry applied, so it was a proper construction, that. And just seeing them now, when you walk past, you just think it's a collection of rocks that fell down the banking. No, that was a ropeway with buckets on, and as a child I remember it very well. We used to catch stickleback in that river. We didn't do anything with them, we just caught them, and that literally is how it used to be. It only used to be that wide, but of course over the years everything's it's gone wider, and I suppose there's more water coming down, and the trees, unbelievable. And this is the entrance that will take you down. There's a footpath that will take you down to the bridge.